Okay, I'm analyzing a game between two worthy opponents. The Indonesian Chess Championship is organized by Percas. Percas, Percas, was established in 1948 in Jakarta, although its official founding date is August 17, 1950. Arif, first name and last name Hafiz, is a FIDE master and is also a diamond member on chess.com. Now, I posted the link to that page in the description. So correct me if I'm wrong. I tried looking him up on Google, so I apologize if this isn't the same person, but I believe he's a diamond member on chess.com, and you can go to that link in the description at the end of this video if you wish. So the player having the white pieces, Sahadan, and Hafiz is playing the black side. And the game started off with e4, c5, knight f3, g6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, queen takes d4 will lead to the check over variation of the Sicilian. But knight takes d4 was played, and knight c6. Knight c3 was played. Of course, you can play c4 in order to enter into a Maroczy bind Sicilian, with white having a grip on the d5 square. But after knight c3, bishop g7. Another move in this position is d6. Bishop g7 was played. Bishop e3 to defend the knight. And knight f6. Now knight takes c6 was played in the game. Another move for white is bishop e2. Now this is not a bad move, but it does allow black to equalize after, for example, both sides castle, and then black has the freeing move d5. But knight takes c6 was played and the game continued. B takes c6, e5, knight g8, bishop d4. Knight h6 was played in the game. Now this move indicates that black wants to go after the bishop by hopping to f5. That's the square from which it would attack the bishop on d4. Queen a5 is the other move. This move attacks the pawn on e5 twice. The bishop on g7 and queen on a5. And also, black will follow up by playing the rook to the b8 square to attack the b2 pawn. For example, after f4, rook b8, queen d2, rook takes b2. Now there's pressure on c3, and another threat is pushing the pawn from c6 to c5, where it would force the bishop to move from d4. And then black would have the available move of playing the pawn from d7 to d6. Why? Because the bishop on g7 is very powerful and controls that diagonal, on that diagonal. So moves such as d6 and c5, and with the queen on a5, now black has pressure on the knight and has play on both the A, B, and C files. So this is definitely another option for black in this position. Queen A5. But instead, black played the knight to H6 and the game continued. F4. Another move for white to consider here is E6. The F7 pawn is hit by the pawn on E6. The bishop on D4 is open to the bishop on G7. White's got a centralized pawn with two developed pieces, an open diagonal for both the queen on D1 and the bishop on F1. And this line will continue. Knight F5, bishop takes G7, knight takes G7, E takes F7 check, king takes F7, and queen F3 check. And white can follow up by playing either the bishop to C4 later, castling queenside. And the black king would still be stuck in the center. But instead, white played the pawn to F4 and the game continued. Knight F5, bishop F2, H5, bishop D3, D5, E takes D6 en passant. E takes D6 was played in the game. Queen takes D6, develops another piece, centralizes the queen. Now I remember watching a chess training video that I ordered from the Roman Lab. This was a video by former world contender Grandmaster Genji Hashvili. One of the things that he taught was to always capture with the queen if you can. Bishop takes F5. Now let's take a look. The queen attacks the pawn on F4. The queen is centralized, and after bishop takes F5, queen takes D1 check, rook takes D1, bishop takes F5. Now black's got the two bishop advantage, can castle, and can play a later rook to b8 in order to threaten the pawn on b2. But in the game, black recaptured with pawn, and the game continued. Castle kingside, castle kingside, rook b1, d5, king h1, queen a5, bishop e1 was played. Bad move. This move is a blunder. The simple b4 was the move in this position. That was the move to play. b2 to b4, and after queen d8, knight a4. And not only does white chase the black queen away, but the knight now has a beautiful post on the absolute c5 post. Bishop e1 was played, and knight e3. And the game continued. Queen f3, knight takes f1, queen takes f1, queen d8, knight a4, rook e8, bishop d2, queen d6, queen f2, bishop f5, b4, bishop takes d3, c takes d3, queen e6, rook e1, queen f5, knight c5, rook takes e1 check, queen takes e1, king f8, not allowing the queen to move, so king moves to f8 to stop the queen from moving to e7. Queen f2 was played. Queen f2, rook e8, h3, king g8, king h2, queen f6, and knight d7. The other move was moving the knight to b3 in order to control d4 square. That would have stopped the queen from moving to d4. But after queen f6, knight d7, queen d4, queen f3, queen b2, bishop b3, queen takes b4, bishop c5, queen b7, knight e5, bishop takes e5, f takes e5, rook takes e5, bishop d4, rook f5, and queen g3 was played. Queen e2 was much better. But queen g3, queen c8, queen d6, c5, bishop takes c5, king h7, bishop d4, a6, a4, queen e6, and queen b8. f6, of course, the threat was queen h8 checkmate, queen c7 check, king to h6, and queen b8. The only move that black has in this position is pawn to g5. And if queen h8 check, king to g6, and there are no more checks. The queen controls g8 and e8. And the king is on a light square. So the queen has no more checks. But instead, the move that black played was king to g5, and now it's a mate in two moves. After h4, black resign, but if king takes h4, queen g3 is checkmate, and if king to h6, then queen h8 is checkmate. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for my next video.